Following program on KROC is sponsored and paid for by Meshbesher Spence. And look who's here.
Andrew Davick, Meshbesher Spence. Andrew,
Good morning.
good to see you again.
Good to see you guys.
We, as I mentioned, are entering into this holiday weekend. Talk about DUIs.
Yes.
Oh, the big sign on Highway 52 said stepped up enforcements
Yeah.
Be
for
careful out
DUI
there.
patrols.
All right.
Absolutely. They're
What
going to be everywhere.
So, anything new that we need to know here? I know they've increased, the penalties?
Increase the penalties. So, although the .08 still is in existence, the penalties are increased. Zach would know exactly. It's either .15 or .16 and above. There's an
Is Zach
increased
the
penalty.
numbers guy out of the two of you?
He is the numbers guy. He's the numbers guy. Yeah,
I think
I try to ignore those.
1.16.
Yeah, I went to law school, so I don't have to do math
Right.
and all that calculation.
And you're the social guy who embarrasses Zach when you guys are out in public.
I do. I make him look right at the waitress when he orders.
The two of you are kind of like an odd couple, and I love it.
He's not allowed to look away.
I only would be better if we could have you both in here at the same time.
Oh,
because you are
we'll
so
do that
different
someday. That would be very
personality.
entertaining.
We could do an hour.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
personality is just so wonderful.
Yeah, he's a bit more serious than me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh, that's okay. No, so on DUIs, I think obviously you get the criminal penalties, and that's a big deal. And particularly, obviously, you're putting other people at risk when you get in a car and you're drinking and driving. And, of course, over a holiday weekend, you run the risk of spending a greater deal of time in jail until Tuesday. There's not going to be any court on Monday. Not that that's a consideration to drink or not drink and drive. But I think the other thing that often comes up in these circumstances that when you do get in your vehicle and something bad happens and you injure someone else or you injure someone in your own car, you've got insurance. Insurance is going to cover you for what we call compensatory damages. So things like the other person has pain and suffering or medical bills or wage loss, those types of things. But your insurance is not going to cover you for what we call punitive damages. And Minnesota has a statute which essentially says that if you are injured by a drunk driver and you can establish that they are more than .08 and above, they have a prima facie claim of for punitive damages. So they can assert that in their summons and complaint, or actually you have to amend, but you can put it into your summons and complaint, and that creates a pretty significant risk to an individual because it's not going to be covered by insurance. So it's something that you're going to have to pay out of your pocket. God forbid you hurt someone else.
All right.
Not a good deal.
So make a game plan before you go anywhere.
Yeah,
Make
and
sure that you have a driver.
And there's so many services, here in town. I mean, obviously you got taxi cab services. If you're in the city, you got taxis. You got what's the
Uber.
You have all those types of things to be able to get home and be safe. And
Well, the bigger point is if you're going out with some friends and you're going to a bar, somebody has to say, "I'll be the driver for tonight."
absolutely.
I mean, you shouldn't all of a sudden at the end of the night go, "Oh, we spent the night at the bar. Now, now what am I going to do?"
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a surprise.
Absolutely.
Well,
And
it shouldn't be, but, sometimes the reality is
plan
that's
ahead.
the way it happens a
Yeah.
lot of times, and where you just sit and, that tastes so good, realize, well, I probably should have stopped at the last one. Now what am I going to do? And
yeah.
Call a
make
taxi.
make a phone call.
Yeah.
Call a taxi.
Have a number in your phone.
Well, I know that when I've interviewed emergency room docs, they say on holidays there is a lot more traffic in emergency rooms because people just get it in the celebratory type of thing. They say, "Oh, it's a holiday," or "Oh, it was a wedding weekend,"
I've had a few of those wedding weekends.
Yeah, but that's what they say is that people just don't. It all of a sudden surprises them, and boom, the next thing you know, they're injured and in the emergency room. So it's some sort of human nature thing that you have to
Well, I
think
think
about.
you get excited and you get going. And like before the program we were talking about, for example, tonight, you've got people who are going to be tailgating, I'm sure, for the Minnesota TCU game. And, it's just
Some
about being
might go from the
smart.
Twins game right over to that game.
Absolutely, yeah. That's
Oh my
that's
gosh.
a plan for disaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're out all day and you're drinking and it's warm today and you're going to be dehydrated. It's going to, amplify the effects of the alcohol, and you just have to
ahead.
make the right decisions so people aren't hurt.
So you don't have to make a phone call to Meshbesher and Spence
Absolutely.
and, have somebody say, could you represent me? I've got an issue here.
Absolutely. It's a phone call that nobody wants to have to make, whether it's somebody was injured and or they got a DUI.
Well, and you said it shouldn't play into it that, I have to sit in jail until Tuesday. But that is something to think about, the amount of money that it's going to ultimately cost you, and that you will sit in jail until Tuesday.
Yeah, you have the potential that unless, a judge allows you to get out or you're able to post bail, and depending on your level of intoxication, you could lose your vehicle. There are so many different ways that this can impact an individual's life.
In some cases, lose your job, depending on what you
Absolutely.
do.
You lose your job, lose your family.
All right. If somebody does need your services for anything, what do they need? What's the number at Meshbesher and Spence?
Yeah, give us a call, 507-280-8090. Go to our website, www.meshbesher.com, or stop by the office.
Sounds good. Good. Andrew, say hi to Zach.
I will do that.
Look directly at him.
I will do that.
Go Gophers.
Slap him on the back. Let's go.